So welcome everybody to the fourth edition of the MedTech20. We're super happy to have Andrei Yosef, the Chief Executive Officer of Sorrel Medical, joining us today. And we're going to talk to him about a whole variety of topics, the future of drug delivery devices, what digital enablement means in terms of bettering patient outcomes and the patient experience, and just generally a little bit more about Sorrel Medical and what Andrei sees as some of the future opportunities and challenges in the drug delivery space going forward. So really hope you enjoy the conversation as much as we did, and without further ado, let's dive into the conversation. So Andrei, welcome to the MedTech20. Really excited to have you on the program today. And I think what you're doing with Sorrel Medical is even more relevant today than it has been ever. So I'm really looking forward to having a great conversation with you.
Thank you, Gordon. It's a pleasure being here, and I'm looking forward for the conversation as well. And I think, yes, Sorrel now is becoming more and more relevant. And I think that this COVID area, even though when the COVID ends, it will still change the way we see the market today.
Absolutely. And I think we're going to talk a little bit about that throughout this conversation here. So maybe we could start with a little bit about, who Sorrel Medical is. You could tell us a little bit about the history and maybe the mission and the kind of products that you guys are bringing to market in the drug delivery space.
Oh, thank you, Gordon. I'm always happy to talk about Sorrel Medical. So Sorrel is a part of three companies owned by the same family, Eitan family. We call ourselves Eitan Group. All of us are doing drug delivery devices, smart drug delivery devices. We are looking for solutions to be very patient-centric. We start the day and end the day thinking about patients here in the company, and we try all the time to innovate. We understand this is a moving landscape, and if you want to be ahead of the curve, you need to be innovative as much as possible. Thinking about it, at Sorrel, we wanted to develop a wearable drug delivery system. It came from a clear need we saw in the market. I was already like 15 years or 12 years doing drug delivery devices, and then it struck me that we don't have a solution for a real solution for wearable devices, and the need is just increasing. With that in mind, we started establishing Sorrel. We spin-offed from a Q-Core, and Sorrel started running. We envisioned to have a device which is partner-centric, very important because our partners are the pharma companies. We need to partner and meet their needs. Therefore, we needed to be very flexible, but also we needed to be very patient-centric. And actually, the strength or the vision or the need came from my personal story. I don't think I ever told you my personal story, but my mother-in-law, she got diagnosed, she was sick, and we were driving her once a week to hospital to get a biological drug.
Right.
And actually, it was okay in the beginning, wasn't taking too much time. She was okay with that. Later on, she just didn't want to go. And I was there, and all the infusion is 10 minutes. You drive for an hour, you park, you take a wheelchair, and you stand in line, you need all this documentation, all those doctors, nurses, everything, and all the infusion is 10 minutes.
Yeah.
And actually, it drove me crazy that we didn't have a solution to help those people and just give them those 10 minutes at home. And this is where my passion for Sorrel, this is how the company's passion is driving. And you see those people, we understand we need to give them a solution.
Yeah, and I think a lot of people will be able to relate to that story. It's unfortunate that a lot of people will be able to relate to that story, but that's the reality we live in. And I really appreciate that you're putting the patient outcome and the patient experience right at the forefront of what you're trying to do with Sorrel Medical.
It starts there. The moment you think about the patients, you'll do the right device.
Yeah.
And we are sending here all the employees in the company to visit hospitals, to visit where devices are used, to talk to people, to talk to doctors, and I think this is what opens our mind. If we'll sit in our office and think about how can we innovate, it never work. We need to be in the field, we need to touch the people. Touching the people is what drives for it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So just carrying on that that theme about the patient experience, and if we look at the more traditional methods of drug delivery, IVs and the like, the kind of devices that that Sorrel is manufacturing and developing, they have the potential to administer the medicines in a much more comfortable setting. It's more convenient, and it's also kind of more cost effective. But and you told us a little bit about your own personal story and what some of those experiences were like. But could you talk a little bit about some of the other kind of benefits around the patient experience, and maybe a little bit about how it can affect the outcomes as well?
Yeah, I think the patient experience is becoming more and more important. In the past, we were talking about pain as the main patient experience. Today, it's not only pain, it's their total experience, the environment, how they feel the drug, what is the feedback they are getting. And as I mentioned earlier, the population, we're trying to drive people out of hospitals as much as possible. The hospitals are trying to drive people out of hospitals. Yeah. The home for the patient, what we call hospital, is not more the home for the patient. They are going home, and that's a goal, that's an aim. And the reason is that we are thinking about their patient experience more and more. And if we can give them the best patient experience, it will not be there, it will be at home. And look at the entire patient experience, it's getting an easy to use device, extremely easy to use device. I think that's crucial today. Patients are not always like me and you. They're not very technology savvy. They don't know how to handle everything. They're normal people, and population, there's a distribution. Some of them can find things like linking a Bluetooth to a device to be complicated. And I fully understand. So extremely easy to use device is a key. So at Sorrel, what we did, we developed it to be a Band-Aid, nothing more. You just peel and stick. Don't make it complicated. In addition, the reason you want it to be easy to use device because you want them to adhere to the medication. If it's complicated, they give up. How many times people gave up in basic things? Yes, you want it to be extremely easy so they don't give up. You want them to adhere to the medication. You want to help them. So let's assume he got the medication, here the connectivity comes into play. You want to give them a thumbs up. Look, you got your medication. You did it well. You're okay. It's fine. You want to get that information of adherence and make sure that he's completing, even if you don't give him the thumbs up. You want to know that he's okay. He got it on time. He got the full dose that he was needing. All of those will increase his experience. All those are a part of it. And the last one is giving them freedom. Patients today want freedom. They don't want to feel sick. They want to have the option to move around. So placing all those people working with poles, infusion pumps, all that. No, not anymore. If they want freedom, let them place a wearable device on their body. They'll have their hands free. They have the body free. They can go around, venture around. And I think that it can be also, it's a type of disguise. They don't feel sick. And together, if I try to give them the comfort of their home, give them an easy to use device, give them feedback of what they did, and allow them to be free of all the cumbersome that can come with being sick.
Yeah, and I think also, one thing you mentioned about is the management of the drug delivery, and there'll inevitably be patients that are perhaps having some other ailments. That means they don't always remember to take their medicine on time, or they take the wrong amount, and so having something that is an automated process for them is just a game changer, I think.
Yeah, here is exactly when connectivity comes into play. And I think that connectivity is, first of all, the present. Of course, it is the future. And it's a blue ocean of opportunities you have. And it allows you to be flexible. You can design the specific needs that you can get from connectivity. If it's a special app, it's a special adherence platform, all that for specific patient populations. Each patient population is different. And this flexibility and freedom and connectivity is something that you cannot find in any robust medical device. You cannot change the mechanics for everything, but the connectivity, the user interface can be modified for those specific patient populations.
Yeah. You mentioned a little bit earlier in the conversation, this continued kind of growth and interest in the biologics and biosimilar space. There's obviously lots of differences between traditional pharmaceuticals and biologics as well in terms of how they're produced and manufactured and developed, etc. I think there's also differences in how they are delivered and the method of delivery. And maybe you could talk a little bit about how you work with your strategic partners in that context to create those kind of custom solutions for them.
Well, it's an excellent question, and I think that in general, biological drugs are not an evolution, are a revolution. What we currently know about medicine is going to change. In 2014, we have about $84 billion spent on biological drugs. In 2023, we'll have $285 billion spent on biological drugs. That's a revolution. That's a huge growing market. 2014, we had about 240 biological drugs in development. Now we passed 1,400 biological drugs in development. That's a huge amount of drugs. It's completely different than all the non-biological drugs. It's not the same. With that envision, with that understanding, we went to Sorrel and we say how we are going to meet or cope with such a changing, versatile landscape. And the only thing that came in mind is that we need to have a platform solution. We need to have something that will be able to be flexible and to be able to adjust. And the first years that we spent in design was how do we make it flexible? So first of all, we did it agnostic to the primary container, which is extremely important. It's not a unique primary, it's agnostic. But we tell the pharmaceutical companies, bring us your primary container, we'll build our device around it. Because asking them to change the primary container, that's a no-go. That's a huge task, takes a lot of time, takes a lot of money, it's new regulation. We don't want to venture there. Also, a lot of focus on molecular integrity. Those biological drugs are big drugs, kilodaltons of drugs. Those are molecules which are more gentle than what we are used to. They tend to adhere, they tend to be sheared. So how do you gently take care of them? How do you keep their molecular integrity? It's a thing that we also spend a lot of time in the lab developing and evolving to be able to cope with those drugs that are coming and are already on the market. And again, thinking about the platform solution is to enable a long range from less than 1 ml to up to 50 ml of medication to try to cover all this range of biological drugs with our infusion device. With that said, I think that the last point, which is extremely important, I mentioned earlier the connectivity that is flexible, because those drugs will go to different patients, their needs are different, therefore the reaction to what we want to hand them is different. So it's different industrial design and a different setup of their connectivity.
Presumably it connects to an app, and is that app developed by Sorrel?
First of all, we have apps that we develop ourselves for proof of concept to show the connectivity. Whenever we show it to the pharma companies, say, look, that's great, that's nice. We need to change the user interface because our patients have this and this and this. We need to change the look and feel. We need to get different data. We don't want to have all the data because if we have all the data, we have liability. We want you only to provide us A, B, and C, and D. And therefore, what we always find ourselves is the pharma company designs according to the patient needs. They do their market research, they do the human factors and the usability studies, and they come with a design and we develop it specifically for them.
Right. Okay. Makes sense. So obviously, one of the hot topics of the day is what's happening in the global healthcare space around COVID. I know that it's certainly affected the way we do business, but I think it's really kind of highlighted the way that we need to think about service delivery to patients and patient access to care. And so I think the digitally enabled devices that you guys are developing are potentially going to really kind of augment or influence the way the healthcare ecosystem and infrastructure develops in future. And maybe you wanted to talk a little bit about that as well.
I think the COVID brought with it all kind of challenges, and actually maybe it's a speeding up thing that will happen anyway. The need to travel maybe will be a little bit less needed, but With that said, a lot of the business is done in personal connection and personal attention. And uh, it's used to build trust. So to get new clients to trust in you without ever visiting your site, without ever sitting and talking to you, that's a little bit more difficult. It's still possible. We are doing a lot of work on that, and to see how we are doing it 3D tours of the company, or all kind of full days on the Zoom or Teams, whatever it is. But I think the main point that is missing here is actually hiring good employees, exceptional employees. And I think here, Gordon, this is where you'll come into play. And for us, we are going to the roadshows and going to conferences not only to show our product, but to actually hunt those good employees that we're looking for, that will bring the company to the next level. And this is where I'm sure your business will thrive. And we worked a lot together in the past. We're going to work more in the future. And exactly, I think this is the point that we as company need to acknowledge, that we need somebody else to do this work for us. And I'm sure it will be good business for you.
Yeah, I mean, for me, and I'm sure the same is true for you, but what makes what determines if a business is going to be successful or not is the people that are working there. So a big part of the connected digital talk in the market today is really about being able to deliver good information and data, not only to the patients, but to their doctors, and also to inform the healthcare and life sciences field a little bit more broadly. And I think that helps to bring more measurable and accurate metrics to the healthcare system, and also it keeps the patient better informed. So how does data factor into the Sorrel strategy, and what your future vision for the business is?
First of all, I think data is the major component in our strategy. I think that Sorrel, as a software-based wearable device, has a huge advantage here. It's a combination product. We know exactly what drug is inside. We know exactly what the device did. So I think that's a huge advantage. If we look at other medical devices, that's a huge, we know exactly what's going to happen when the device is turned on and going to be utilized. And this data is important for us, but there are many additional factors that can enjoy the data. The patient, it's wide and clear. I gave you the example of thumbs up before that. I gave you an example to memorize all the data that he had. He can have a diary of what he got. He can have a schedule with check marks, a lot of things we can do around it. He can have the data of, I got this last bolus like 5 hours ago. Should I take one now? Am I allowed? So there's a lot of things the patient can benefit from that. It will be different between the medications. The pharma company, of course, there's a lot of competition in biological drugs. I personally know a couple of drugs that are actually doing the same. Different companies actually doing the same. So there's a lot of competition. How do you differentiate between you and your competition? It can be the device. It can be maybe small things in the drug. Usually it's not, but it can be the data. So you want to have an option to see what your patient's population, the people using a drug, are doing. So if you have this data, you can try to keep your patient population to have some type of brand loyalty. So that's important for the pharma company. For me, it's crucial for them in the next area. That will be a crucial part for them. It doesn't end there. It's important for the payers. You want to do value-based reimbursement? Show us that the patient used the drug. Show that he used it effectively, on time. Did he get the right dose? You want to give good care to the patient? Track him. Is he increasing his doses? Is he having more boluses? Does he keep his adherence? All of those parameters that the doctor has no clue now. He doesn't know, even if he gives a prescription, he doesn't have facts. Did he use more drug in the last month? Did he adhere? Does he have other effects on a temporary matter? Like, we can track mobility of the patient with our device. We can track additional parameters with our device. These are together. Can you hand it to the caregiver? Can you do more with that data? For sure. And again, it would be different by drug. Hospitals or places that take care of the entire range of care for those specific patients. They're sending a patient home. The hospital itself, they have a liability on that patient after an operation. After they want to make sure that the patient is utilizing before they are sued to take him back. And I see another aspect to it, which we talk about it less in all kind of conferences, but here comes the government. And the government can be a municipality, can be a country. We spend a lot of money on those drugs. Those drugs are extremely expensive, rightly so. It's hard to develop. Can you give us data of how much we really utilize? How much is really effective? And the answer is no. So if we get the data, if we arrange it correctly, if we control, let's assume there is a drug that comes in wearables, we will know how much this drug is effective. Is it good? How much of it is really paid correctly? There's no data out there. So here's the government coming in and saying, guys, value-based reimbursement is one tool, but it's not the only tool. Show us post-market surveillance. All the regulatory, the FDA, the MDR is coming now more and more in post-market surveillance. I think that's the biggest change on the regulatory side. So here's a way for the government to influence that. All of those together are huge, crucial imports of data. And it's not only the present, for sure it's the future.
So we've heard a lot about Sorrel Medical today, and super interesting discussion. But I'd love to hear a little bit more about your own background.
My background is generally I was doing a PhD in biomedical engineering. Then I started to teaching in the academia. Spent some time in NYU. Spent some time as a teacher here in Israel at the Israel Institute of Technology. And for me, at that time, I was already having my two first companies that I was running, both of them doing drug delivery. And I said, I cannot do everything together. But also, I need a very strong mentor, somebody that will teach me not only how to develop the right products and how to listen to the market, but also somebody that can give us the other aspect, which is the business aspect, and also how to manage a bigger company. So I was very happy when I was approached by the Eitan family to join them. I think it was an opportunity to learn from Boaz Eitan. He's the current owner of also of Sorrel, but the other groups. He established many very successful companies in his past, and this opportunity allowed me to see all the aspects of doing a business, because I wanted to help patients. And understand it's not enough to have a good idea. You need to make it to the market. To make it to the market, there are additional aspects that will come into the game. And I needed to understand those aspects that will help us bring those solutions to the market. And I'm very happy to say that inside the Eitan group, we brought many products to market. We see many patients utilizing those products. And again, for me, that's what drives me forward, making sure that those patients are getting what they need, they're getting better care, we are helping them out. We're helping the entire industry of medical devices, bringing more and more products to the market. And this is how I joined. I saw the vision. And while I was running the R&D and products for Hucor, this is where we started to envision Sorrel. We saw the huge gap there in wearables, both technology, usability, readiness for flexibility. We saw that the other products in the market, some of them are great, but they're not flexible enough, at least in my opinion. And we decided to go full force. So I spinned off Hucor. We established Sorrel, and Sorrel is running and growing, and hopefully it's going to do good for the patients. We are now heading to our first clinical trial as we speak. So it's very exciting times.
Yeah, it sounds like it's very exciting. And so I guess as we kind of wrap things up here a little bit, I'd love to hear about some of the key lessons maybe that you've learned along your journey. I mean, you've just as you've described, you've kind of come up through more of a clinical background and then come into running a business and commercializing products and that kind of thing. And that's a really interesting trajectory. So I'd love to hear a little bit about some of the kind of lessons that you've learned along the way.
There are many lessons, Gordon. We always learn. We're always trying to improve. We always try to do better, and we never stop. We never rest, and we never know everything. know what we don't know, and we don't know what we don't know. That's the issue here. But I think that I have three main things that I will be happy to share. And I think that lesson number one, at least for me, is if you are sitting by your desk and trying to find the best next thing, not going to happen. Not in this field. You need to be engaged with the people that are going to use your technology. You need to be engaged with them day in day out. You need to talk to doctors. You need to talk to pharma companies. You need to talk to patients. You need to talk to formulators of drugs. You need to talk to payers. You need to talk to everybody to understand what is needed. Because if any of those doesn't work, if the doctor is not happy with the device, not going to happen. If the pharma company is not happy, not going to happen. If the patient wants to do, not going to happen. If the payer is not going to pay, you're not going to happen. All of those are crucial here. So that's an environment. So my first thing is be out there, talk to people, talk to those leading activities, and make sure that when you have an envision, you try to tie up all those stories together and try to understand how what you're going to do is going to benefit all of those. So my second take will be the way I envision patients and the effect of biological drugs. I mentioned earlier, it's a revolution. I envision always oncology patients as people that are going to chemo or radiation, they lose their hair, they're weak, they're very sick, and yes, some of them are still like this, sadly, but a big part of them now, with the biological drugs coming to America, are not like this. They feel good. They feel alive. They only been diagnosed. They don't want to be sick. So now trying to treat them the same way is wrong. We need to give them the freedom to continue day to day. I'm talking to them and say, the only thing I want is the day before will be the same as today, will be the same as tomorrow. Don't change my life. Don't make me sit in bed and get an infusion. Don't make me go to hospital 3 times a week. I don't want it. Let me keep on. I want to keep on working. I want to keep on training. I want to keep on enjoying going to restaurant, all of that. So whenever I talk to them, I say, guys, you know, what we are doing, we're developing a wearable device. Say, that's exactly what we need. We don't even want people to know that we're sick. Let us keep our day-to-day the same way. And I think that's an important thing that comes from biologics, an important thing that I took into it, but it goes to other things in the market. Let's try to keep patients have the same rhythm that they had before. And my third one, Gordon, is actually the people that we have in the company. And, you know, some of them, of course, you know, Mike Rattigan, he's amazing. He really understands the business, help us drive the business. We also hired the former West guy, Ben Sielgazi, to lead our operation. He did it there on a different device. And those people that come with the understanding, with the knowledge, my VP R&D, Dr. Ori Ben David, they're coming with the knowledge, with understanding. They've been in this market for a long period of time. They understand what is needed, they understand how to move there. And I think good people is the key for any company. And at least for Sorrel, that's a place that we are doing our best all the time to get only the best people. And again, other people like you are helping us to get those unique individuals to help us take this company to a place that we are delivering those devices to patients. And again, that's our goal. But to get to that goal, you cannot do it on your own. Even if you have the best idea, you need the key people. And for me, as leading the company, these key people are of the company. And I think that's the third and most important take. Never take medium people, take only the best, and use people that are expert in that to get those for you.
Really, really outstanding stuff you're doing, Andrei, and
thank you,
just want to thank you for sharing all that you have on the MedTech20 here, and look forward to connecting again in future.
Thank you, Gordon. It was a pleasure talking to you, and looking forward for more and more work together, and we'll not stop till we have those devices on patients. Be sure for that.
That's fantastic. That's what we need. So thanks so much, Andrei.
Thank you.